I think by now everybody should have known that my father was, at least those who don't know. My father was a musician, one of Nigeria's legendary high life juju musicians, and he was I think he did his thing while he was here, and he was able to travel, tour the world with his brand of music. So Ike Dairo was one of Nigeria's biggest juju high life musicians. So I grew up in that family. Music is always around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pretty much my elder brother and all my cousins were so much into different types of music. I had a brother that was a late brother that was so much into rock music,
Rock.
right? So everybody has their own taste. Because of the fact that my dad was a musician, he wasn't really particularly wasn't interested in what we're doing or what we're
Mm.
listening to or how we want, to enjoy our free time because most times it's always out on
Okay.
tour to Senegal, to America, to Japan. So yes, I would say like basically we grew up around his music.
Mm-hmm.
Um Akida's music is totally different. So maybe many people try to define Akida's music, but his music is Ashiko music. So Ashiko
Okay.
music is
Ashiko.
brand because yes, he's the only musician who um introduced accordion instruments into juju music. So his music is just totally different. And he actually at some point he dabbled into juju. He plays my father used to play like four or five instruments. Played the akuba drums, he played the talking drum, he played accordion, bass guitar, he played the rhythm guitar as well. So he was some sort of a multi-instrumentalist. So we grew up around this music. And my brothers and my cousins have different tastes because my family house was a big house. My father had
Mm-hmm.
everybody around, younger brothers. Everybody was living in one big house. So everybody, I grew up, in the midst of my cousins and my brothers. So,
Okay.
and so I had that opportunity to actually have a feel or to be introduced, to have the experience of listening to different genres of music, which
Okay.
ranges from rock to pop to R&B to high life to Aquala. So my father had records, 45 RPMs, all of it. So we used to listen to one of those songs that the 45 RPMs that my father had. And we used to make fun of those songs, people like Nightingale, um, Tunde Nightingale, people like
Oh
Victor
wow.
Laya, people like Adeola Akinsonya. We listened to Fela was also, people didn't know that Fela actually played high life music in the past. So we listened to all those, records, and those were the kind of sounds that actually, shaped, my music life, so to
Wow.
speak.
Yeah. It sounds like a very wide range of sounds. So you grew up listening to a lot of different
Exactly.
kinds of music.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how big was the influence of foreign music? I mean, you're living with the great, your father, who's a great known musician, but with a very Nigerian style of music. Was foreign music, was it as big an influence as that music? And what was it like in Nigeria at the time? Were most people listening to foreign music or indigenous music?
Um, Around that time, my father's music wasn't much of a, we didn't really we're not listening to my father's music like that because it's like it's like
Yeah.
people have this adage that a prophet is never respected, you know, in his home. So like we have him, and so we have a dad that sings
Yeah, we
and
take it.
he was a musician, and so we didn't really have that kind of so much interest in his music.
Mm.
But basically, the music that we were so much into was R&B and soul music.
So,
And yeah, so we had stacks of these albums that at one point my father threw them away because he could not just have it anymore because we were just so much into it. It was actually getting in the way of, because my father had a church, he was a pastor as well. So it was getting in the way of studies and church and, a lot of
Yeah.
things was just, we're so much engrossed in the music thing. And my brother will buy a new album, it's Groove of Washington, if it's Shalama, if it's Lakeside, if it's any Motown hit, my brother will go ahead and buy. It was selling, I think it was around 8 naira or 10 naira then.
Wow.
So, but I couldn't afford it. So I'm always the one waiting for them to. So like my brother will buy the album and will keep it somewhere safe, but you never go there to pick it up because he's gonna get upset because he just bought it. So
Yeah.
he makes it so albums, those vinyls those days, there's so much you have a wrap around it. So he will know if you actually, open the wrap and listen to the album. So he keeps it there. So we wait for him to finish listening to the album, then I pick it up and listen. So basically around that time, I'm talking about 70s, late 70s, it
Okay.
was more of a mixed bag.
Okay.
Nigerians were so much into foreign music and local music as well. Because that was when we had the likes of Ike Dairu, King Sunny Ade, Ebenezer Obey, Chief Ebenezer Obey, Shino Peters and Adewale and Shino. You know what's actually in the group before they were two. So
Okay.
yeah, so we had that kind of big music industry happening in Nigeria. At the same time, there's a lot of influx of foreign music, from likes of Temptations, Shalama, Lakeside, all those, music of the 80s came in. So Nigeria had, like we had so much to listen to compared to now that people are also stuck with Afrobeats.
Yeah. It's
Everything,
interesting.
yeah. So
Isn't
it was more of a mixed bag of both.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've been doing research around this stuff, and you know, finding out that finding out how big, say, a person like Chris Okote was in pop music in
Yeah.
the 80s, and
Mhm.
there's also been a resurgence of other 80s musicians that were into disco, funk, and
Yes.
some weren't even as big then, but are big now. Obi on your
Obìnrin Akíndé Obi, Dizzy Falola,
exactly, ZK,
so a lot of
yes,
them, yeah.
and that was
A
all
lot of them,
happening.
yeah.
So I mean, if we move a bit further, so we know you started singing as a teenager in a group called the Calvary Singers.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a bit about that experience and how it
Uh,
shaped you?
Cabaret Singers was actually the idea came off the fact that we had a church choir. My father was a pastor. He
Mm,
was an apostle in the Cherubim and Seraphim Church. And he has his church just beside the building, which is still there to today. So we had a little choir, and at one point, the choir was, when you have one choir, there's this kind of feeling that you know, they get a bit too complacent or they get a bit too
mm,
um, hard to deal with, so to speak. But after a while, we just felt that the church felt maybe we should have a second, choir.
oh, I see.
And this time around, there's this member of my daddy's band that he used to be a member of the church as well, and also plays the bass guitar and the lead guitar as well for him. So he said, okay, we should set up a band, which is more or less like a 6-man band. And that was how we formed Calvary Singers. And I didn't even know I had talent to sing anything because I was just like, okay, let's start a band. Because every member of the family, especially the boys, can play one or two instruments, especially the drums in church. So it was very easy for him to get us um, to join the band, to join the choir. And we started, and immediately we took off. He was able to get us together, was able to do the rehearsals on time, and everything was just going on well for us. And funny enough, we now became more popular than the church choir. So
Oh,
we
wow.
were going around different churches. My father would go anywhere he goes to preach. So
Mm,
Calvary Singer. So in that time, I was able to build up my confidence and experience what it
Mm,
was like to perform in public, and I started embracing music as it is, and I
mm,
started feeling that this is something that I could do, but I wasn't really sure, but I was just
mm.
enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what is the amount of time between the Calvary Singers and performing on night shift? And can you tell us a bit about what night shift was and what it was like? Because we know there were other musicians performing night shift, like Sonny Neji and the rest.
Yeah.
How did you get into that? What was it, and what was it like being amongst these other musicians?
Yes. My late brother and my late cousin were members of no, my late cousin was a member of Carver Singers. My late brother was not.
Okay.
So I think he was the one that, and he was very good with music. Being an instrumentalist, he could play up to 7 instruments.
Wow.
And from there, he saw that I could write songs. Well, I wasn't much of a singer, but I could write songs. So we started a group called Le Griff. And so he was the founder of the group Le Griff. And that was so many years after, because I was 11. That when I think I was in my my mid teenage, maybe like 15 or 16. So we just got together and we started practicing in the house because there's so many instruments in the house.
Mm,
You can pick up which one you want. And it's when my dad wants to go out on tour or whatever, they say, "How took this, who took that?"
yeah.
So we had that, opportunity to pick up instruments in the house, drums and stuff. And we started within the house because we have a flat to ourselves. So we would just sit down and rehearse, play music, rehearse. And that was how we started with the Griff. And the Grave, our first recording was in Class Studios. I think I mentioned Class as one of my stuff that I was doing about something I started in a few months ago. And I actually narrated how I got into Class Studios. Class Studios was in
Okay.
Drelek, and that was when we did our first recording. I can remember that first recording, the title of the song was Thousand Ways.
Uh,
So the owner of sorry, the owner of the studio was like, "What? You guys are singing R&B and you don't you're not Americans. How did you guys do it?" So the guy
uh,
kind of picked interest in us, and we were going there very often. And we had the likes of producer that was in house then was his name is MacIver. We're still friends to today,
mm,
and he was the phone that produced our first song. And from there, we took those recordings and we went to Night Shift nightclub because we believe that we need to be seen. Now what we do, you have to go out
yeah.
there. It's not like
Yeah.
today that you just record a song and put it on the internet and it blows up. So we just had to do some legwork, and we ended up at Night Shift. At Night Shift nightclub, you have to go for audition before you are actually allowed to be a performer. So it was much
Mm,
more like if you perform at Night Shift, then you're somebody like in the
yeah.
making. So then we thought
Yeah.
that was it's just like you're trying to perform at the Apollo in America.
Mm,
So we got this audition, and the person that did the audition was he's Kunle Stewart, and we're still friends till today. He was the captain of Night Shift. Night Shift was actually building like a space, like a airplane, So they had a captain. Everybody's dressed like, like yeah, honestly, yeah. It was, Night Shift was the biggest club back then. It
mm.
was number one club in Nigeria. So everybody that is anybody
And
is
this
there
was
on
it
Night
was
Shift.
in Lagos. What part of
Yeah,
Lagos?
Okwebi was in Okwebi,
Oh,
Kentucky.
baby.
Okwebi,
Okay.
yeah, Okwebi. And so, yeah, we got that audition day and went there and we were singing R&B, R&B, R&B. And somebody said, why are you people just singing? These people are not Americans. Now, why are you just singing R&B? I said, we have local song to sing. And somebody said, I gathered that they're Akida those children. I was like, God, why are they
Mm,
singing like this? Why are they singing on Igbo song? So we were discouraged, but when we actually leaving, Kunle walked up to us and said, "You know what? You guys are very good. I want to have you guys to, you know, come in and perform every Friday,
wow.
sometimes Friday, Saturday, and Sundays." And Nashi was like, That was the platform that we used to actually launch ourselves at that time, but nobody actually knew who we were,
Mhm.
and nobody knew that we were latest Archidero because we
Mhm.
just wanted to keep that
Yeah.
identity away from honest judgments and honest reviews and honest acceptance.
Mhm.
So we were doing that. We had the likes of Felix and Moses in the house, Sonny Neji in the house, Tunde and Wumi Obe. We were very, very close. Everybody in the house, Michael Cree, and we used to have guest musicians as well, like Blackie, so
Mhm.
many big guys, and the music industry in Nigeria then we had Polygram Records, we had EMI Records, we had all the industry big wigs used to
Yeah.
come to nice shit every Friday. So, but it was more like a place to be at that time. So
Yeah.
we really had
Mhm. What year would you?
yeah.
What years would you say this happened? Was this late 80s or early 90s?
It was early night. It was like 90, early 90s. Let's say
Okay.
1991, 91,
Okay.
yeah, around that
Okay.
time. Yeah.
So was this around the same time you started producing? Because you've mentioned like not being satisfied with the kind of production that was
Yeah.
available.
It's not that I wasn't really satisfied with the
Okay.
production level because MacIver is one of the best top producers back then.
Okay.
But I would want to explain something to him, but he would not really grab exactly what I want. Like you have something in your head that you want to
Yeah.
actually try to translate musically, and you want to put it down exactly the way you want it. It takes a lot of time for that
Yeah.
to get done. So I felt, okay, yeah, the next thing for me to do is to learn how to play the keyboards.
Hmm.
We had keyboards in the house. My brother has a keyboard, 100 Casio 100. I bought myself a keyboard as well, and I started learning how to play. And I learned playing by ear.
Hmm.
I would turn on the radio. I remember one of the first songs that I actually used to train myself on the keyboard was Lisa Stansfield, um, is it living around the world? Living around the world.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
that was the song I was crazy about the song. So I just got on the keyboard and started trying to get the chords. And through all this time I would listen to a new song, pick the chords, and from there, with the help from my brother, I had a keyboard chord progression book and stuff. So I learned I just did everything by not I intended to go to school for that at one point,
Hmm.
but I had this professor that was teaching me how to play the piano. The man was just just strict for my liking, so I dropped out of the piano school. Yeah, because the man was so strict that if you're playing wrongly, it just brings out this ruler,
Oh no.
and your fingers
You're not.
just go. Yeah, so it knocks your fingers every time you try
Yeah.
it. You miss the chord, so you miss the line or you miss the melody and all that. So I wasn't having that. So I
Yeah.
just went back to myself. I felt, look, this is what I could do. And but till tomorrow, I'm still not like a professional, but I play. It's just like give me anything, I'll play.
And you play along.
Give me any kind of music, I'll play. So because I learned by ear, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, so with that, we're able to start recording ourselves, and Macabre was always there to also assist.
Hmm.
And from there, we started recording songs, and we were recording songs, trying to get a deal with Sony, trying to
Hmm.
get a deal with Polygram, trying to get a deal with Pambancy Records, but all those things were not happening because we were strictly an R&B band.
Right. Yeah. And R&B was still not mainstream at that time.
No,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. So it was strange to people. Sometimes we don't get the claps. Sometimes we just get, oh, I could remember one time we went to perform, and after our performance, nobody clapped. And so I was really, really like, I felt depressed, like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
this is it. So maybe I shouldn't do this again. Maybe we should just do this because we grew up listening to R&B music. So we would not it couldn't connect with the local things, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was not going to be original to try to do it, but this is like whatever you have inside of you,
Yeah.
you grew up listening to will always, be part of you. So, and like in the morning, I was gonna use the restroom, and this man came up to me, and the man was like totally drunk.
Yeah.
He was drunk, but I think he could still function. So
Yeah.
he was like, "Was it you out there that you were? Was it you that you were singing R&B, one R&B song?" Yes, I said, "Yes, it was me." That was very good. Don't change it.
Ah.
Don't stop. Don't allow those people. They didn't clap for you. Don't worry. Just keep on doing what you're doing.
Mm.
That was the saving grace. That was a word that actually came to me. That said, "Look, believe in
Wow.
yourself." Because people didn't applaud you doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing. So I think that was a rescue point for me
That's amazing.
musically.
Yeah. And still on the production point, I think everybody knows your music, but I don't think people know how much production that you've actually been involved in, across time, starting with other people's productions besides even your production.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if everyone knows that you produced those Tenny Tortilla albums, or
Yeah, people didn't know. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Can
Recently, I put some stuff. Yeah, go on.
No, can you talk us through that a bit? How was it getting more legitimacy with your production, to the point where they were looking for people like Tony Tetwila were looking for you? And also, like, talk us through what was that process working with artists like Tony Tetwila? Do you have any favorite productions you did, and or any favorite artist you work with and produce?
Yeah, my journey into production, I already um told you what happened. Like I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really getting the best of what I was expecting, and I couldn't. They couldn't translate exactly what is in my head, and from there I started playing music. I started producing myself, and yeah, I kind of understudied, MacIver, because he was the main producer in Class Studio,
Okay.
and I was able to learn from him how to use the boards, how to mix, how to do all those things. So he was very helpful, and we were good friends, even to the extent that he was one that shot Angel of My Life video. So so we, my journey into production was by that urge and that hunger for getting it done correctly. And yeah, so from there, we will have a situation where my camera could not come to the studio, and I will be the one that will, be there as an assistant producer. And even along the line, ODB came to the picture. ODB was with me, and we used to do productions. And when I'm not there, so we had assistant producers. So Makara was the main producer in the Class Studios. And from there, I have a brother who's been into advertising for over 30 years. And he saw what I could do. And from there, I started producing jingles for the likes of STB, Insights, OGV and Martha, S1U, ST, all these uh, major advertising agencies in Nigeria back then. I was doing most of those jingles alongside OJB and Yomi Mitiro. So from there, my scope and my idea was actually, broadened by the fact that I produced different kinds of music from high life to pop. So because when you're talking about jingles, you have to be a versatile producer, and you need to know what you're doing, because you need to actually interpret whatever the jingle, what the producer and what the company wants and what the client wants. So you have to actually bring everything together to produce a very good jingle that it's accepted. So those were the things I was doing. And I was actually doing basically R&B music, because when it comes to R&B, everybody knows who to come to, because I'm actually like the go-to person for R&B music. So from there, I started producing in Clean Studio. I moved from Class Studio to Clean Studio. From Clean Studio, I moved to Miditone Studios. All these studios were actually around Ojuelegba, Surulere, Adeniro, Kusanya. all those environments. So Sule was my turf, like myself and OJB.
Oh wow.
So that actually built so much experience producing young people because R&B music and rap music was not so big at that time. I
Hmm.
was doing the journey of producing my. That's why I met Slam, and that's how I met Rugged Man and so many others. So because these were actually guys that were hungry, they were
Right.
looking for ways to get the right song, the way it's supposed to be. That they didn't have the right producers that actually delivered
Yeah.
the way I was delivering music. So my first interaction into the mainstream, or my first breakthrough into the mainstream, was the encounter I had with I met Two Face and Blackface. They were doing a recording for Fame Music Awards, and my brief was to reproduce Benita Okoje's song. Benita Okoje had a song around that time where it was popular. She was a child star. She's
Okay.
not a big girl now. She's a big woman now. So she was a child star. So everybody, I don't know if you know Benita Okoje, but if you Google her, you
I'll
know.
look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Look her up.
she was really big then. So her song, they wanted her to perform at the word, so I had to reproduce her song, and that was why I was in the studio. But I didn't really know that Two Face and Blackest was going to be in the studio. We're going to be in the studio with me, and I saw them, and I know them, but I know because just coming up as well. They were upcoming musicians as well
Yeah.
around that time. But I was a producer, and their producer did not show up. So the engineer said to them, like, why don't you work with Pop Play? Like Pop Play is, can actually run things for you guys, so don't. And Blackfish was looking at me like, I'm sure that this guy can do something here. So um the interface also was like, they're not really sure. They were not sure about how it's gonna go. And Blackfish and I said, well, we have no choice. Let's work with him. What's your name? I said, my name is Paul. And we got working 5 minutes into the whole production, and everything just, they were just
Oh.
like, wow,
Mhm.
this is something else. We've never heard a guy produce like this before. Where have you been and stuff like that. But they were the ones that introduced Tony Tetrila to me. So they went talking about how good it was, and they played the vibe to Tony, and Tony was like, man, where's this guy? And around that time, I was a member of a gospel group in Abuja called Pure Heart Impression. So I was like also a producer and a singer with Pure Heart Impression. So we were doing a lot of ministry work, going around different churches in Abuja and environs like Jos and other areas like that. So we're just going around. We're a 9-member
Wow.
gospel group. So I would travel, and then I was really working in Shell.
Yeah.
So weekends I will
That's a
Friday.
very busy schedule. Just like
Yeah,
every.
yeah, because I was working in Shell. Sometimes I will leave work, even right from when I was in school. I will leave school and go and join a recording session overnight to go back to school the next day. So I was, that I got used to doing that. And so when I was working 9 to 5, Friday I would be in Abuja. Monday night, Sunday morning, I'm back to Sunday night, I'm back in I'm back in Lagos. So it was much of too much stuff to do, and just trying to keep both sides alive because I didn't want the music side to die because of 9 to 5 engagements and stuff. So one of my journeys, I came back from Abuja and I saw somebody, hanging around my balcony, and like, who's this guy? As it was Tony Tequila, that's how I met Tony Tequila, and we got working. And working, if probably you that one of the questions that you asked is how was it working with him?
Yeah.
And working with Tony Tequila was not easy because I saw it as something like a uphill task because Tony did not start as a singer.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
he was a dancer. Yes, he was
Mm.
dancing with remedies, and they had this issue. He had to
Mhm.
leave remedies, and he had to leave because of something. They didn't want him in the group, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of bad blood. And he left. And the next thing he was like, you can do it yourself. I think from so much, Blackface really did so much, like push him to do something on his own. And he came to me and said, look, I made Paul play. And he came to meet me, and I told him, I asked him if he had some songs to produce. And yes, he got some songs, and he got some songs from Blackface, and he wrote some songs for
Okay.
himself. And I said, okay, this is the way we can do this. Because Tony Tetula was a very good he actually gave me the opportunity to expose my talent, to have that exposure. And it was actually a turning point in my music career. He created that big buzz for me as a producer. And that was, I thought that, look, this could be the opportunity to actually express myself. And so I said, these guys are your friends. Two Face is your friend. Blackface is your friend. Rough Rugged and Raw, they're your friends. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an album where we're going to have all these guys featuring on the album. So, and Azados also was there. So there was this first stack posse that was amazing, too amazing to ignore for me.
Yeah.
And knowing that production and understanding that Tony you need to actually, it was like not an experiment. It was like, we had a point to prove, We had to prove to remedies that, Tony's, so everything. So we threw everything that we could actually throw into the project. We threw everything in it, and it became, a very successful one. And producing in the studio where you have a lot of guys playing around, talking, all these pet talks, banter and stuff going on in the studio, you will highly find it very difficult to consider. So most of the time, I just make sure that before they come in, I've already done the groundwork. Because there's a lot of smoking, a lot of stuff that artists normally do. And girls also in the studio, distractions and everything.
It was a party.
It's always like food everywhere, drinks and stuff. And I always make sure that I get, the basic production, the basic instrumentation done before they all come in.
Okay.
And once they get in, they're good to go. So the recording process was smooth because we had people around. And I think Tony was just very determined at that point, and he got everything just the way we wanted it to go. And the album was a success.
Yeah, it was a huge success, and with the music. And I see what you mean by something to prove, because it felt like that era was the introduction of a whole new, with guys like you and Two Face, and so it felt like an introduction of something new, with you behind the boards. Amazing. I mean, so outside, so you have that production going on. You're talking about you were working at Shell. At what point did you make the decision to leave everything behind and start the solo career? Was it was it before you got signed to Kennis, or after, what was that period like? And
Living Shell was not like totally by design.
Okay.
I think it was just God's plan. I didn't want to leave Shell, but at one point I was like confused. I didn't know whether to leave or to stay. And at some point, I just had to pray about it. To be honest, it was a prayer thing, and I was asking God to give me direction of what next to do. And when I left, I think my contract was about to expire, but I wasn't really keen on staying, and I didn't fight to retain the contract. I didn't do anything. I was just like confused whether I should go with these or should stay. But at some point, I did some prayer, and I think the direction that I got at that time, the response I got spiritually was for me to, to go this way, which is the music thing, and which I'm glad that I did. So making that decision was difficult. but at the same time, I just because most times when I'm in the office, people just see that. What are you doing here? Like, because I'm always singing in the office, I'm always tapping on the like, Mr. Man, what are you doing here now? Wasting money. Go and I said, look, so don't do something about this. And eventually I made that decision. But it didn't go well with my mom. My mom didn't like that because, imagine you having a woman having a husband as a musician, and the failures, the gains, the successes, and the trials, the competition, the bad blood, the diabolic,
Yeah.
games and stuff that people play in the entertainment industry
Mm-hmm.
kind of got to her, and she wasn't going to have another episode of that again. So
Yeah.
she really didn't like it, and she actually complained to my brother and said, "You know what? I don't know what this boy is doing. You better go talk to him. Better go talk to him because I don't want to go through this trauma once again. Because with my dad, it was very traumatic being a wife of a physician.
Yeah.
And so my brother said, "Are you sure? Or what do you want to do?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think this is what I want to do." So my mom and I were not really in good terms for like a month or two.
Okay.
And around that time, after a while, she felt like this boy wasn't going to budge. So she actually gave in and accepted me for, accepted my decision. And because it was rough after I left, and because I was somebody who was earning good salary because my peers who were in other engineering companies were not earning as much as I was earning. And I was helping my mom, and so she felt like this money is going to stop. So, and, like, okay, now moving into uncertainty where the money comes when the client comes. So she didn't like that. But with time, I started doing stuff and I ended up doing something for AIT Jams and Kenny Ogungbe and so money started coming in because of that. I think the big break came like a year and a half after leaving the show. Well, yeah, 2 years, like 2 years after leaving show. Um, yeah, it was a bit of a rough journey because living as a producer, you depend on the number of clients and the level of clientele that you enjoy. But after a while, I started building up, started working with I made so much money working with advertising agencies, right? So that was my big that created a very good coaching effect for my finances, and I was able to maintain myself. But when I did AIT jams for AIT and Repower, I started getting more clients. And one of my clients was this guy who said something about doing remix of my dad's songs, and I didn't like it at first because I'm like, no, because something about me is I don't like something that that's okay, you're remixing stuff or you're gonna be and let me see, there was a kind of, I wouldn't say it was a backlash, but there was some, impressions were created. There were some impressions that were created because of that. That you should just start playing the accordion, just start playing the talking drum. Just didn't know that wanted to make me to start. I didn't want to turn me into another Akedero,
Yeah.
So I didn't like that, So, but initially when the guy brought the idea, I was like, okay, I will do it. But he kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing until I finally decided to do it. And after recording it, I took it around, and yeah, it was in my wardrobe for 3 years. Was it 3 years? Yeah. Yeah, it was before I actually got signed at Kenny's Music. Um, yeah, because I tried to chop it around. I took it to, I took it to Sony Records. Sony didn't like it. They said, instead, because they heard it was my father's song, so they asked, so why don't you just give us your father's catalog and so that we can work with that? So I felt like, okay, maybe I'm not just cut out for this. Like maybe this wasn't supposed to be, or maybe I should have stayed back and shell. Like, so a lot of doubting moments came after that.
Mm.
And yeah, but the marketing manager at Sony was very helpful. It was like he believed in the song so much. So we tried again, we tried other marketers, and there's this marketer that was the biggest marketer in the Southwest back then. We went to her and she was busy selling other CDs, so she didn't really have time to listen. Even when I played the song, she was just not
Interested.
not that she wasn't interested. She didn't even. She was just busy.
Okay.
Marketers. People are
Yeah.
bringing in CDs, selling CDs. Have you done this? That she was just busy and she was just about her business. She wasn't given too much time to listen to the
Okay.
song. And what she told me was like, "Well, my brother, I can't do this now because I have so much in my hands, and maybe next year." So I just got fed up and I just left it there and continued my R&B thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so until I had this meeting with Mr. Kenneth again, and everything just turned around.
Yeah. Wow. It's so interesting how that happens because just hearing your story now and you saying that you guys growing up weren't even listening to, his music that much, like what you were really into. So to then do that song and make it as big as and for that song to be big, I know you've spoken before about the kind of just the reaction to it, people feeling like you're doing that kind of music. Interestingly, for me, you know, like I got to know about your music from what I think is my favorite era of your music, and that's Hitsville, Angel of My Life. I think I grew up in a household too where my father was, I grew up on Sam Cooke, Motown, and
Okay.
Nigerian music
Yeah,
as well. But like understood those two. So when you
yeah,
came out with Hitsville, it was just like nobody else was doing that.
yeah,
You know.
exactly.
So what's that story? Because I imagine there'll be label pressure to just keep doing that thing that worked before. Like,
Yeah,
how are you able to make that album and market it, knowing the success you had and knowing the industry pressures? Like, how did you do that?
yeah. I think what happened was um, I think after I left Kenny's music, I had a lot of bad press. I don't know where that was coming from. Just like I said, a lot of diabolic things going on in the music industry, and I was having so much bad press that my music was basically Akedaro's music.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any talent. So they were going on, and I was seeing those things. And then, those days you would be very, very apprehensive and anxious about what's going to come in, because then we had tabloids like Fame magazine, Amen magazine, a lot of gossip and stuff going on about celebrities, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't want people to have, you don't want news that is negative about yourself. So I'm always very, very worried every Friday because I have some friends in press that okay, what's going on? They're gonna write this about you. They're gonna write about it. So like it was coming very often, and I just felt that was some kind of some should I call it a vendetta coming from somewhere in the game, in the industry, trying to pull me down
Mm.
and trying to just rubbish me. And I felt, look, I need to put a stop to this because this is not me. And if they thought that I was just about my father's music, I think I need to prove a point. So that was how Hitsville was born. So Hitsville was born out of trying to prove a point that hey, just don't think because I sing all those Akidaras,
Yeah.
you think I think so I just had to, it's just a way of telling people to just shut up, you
Yeah.
know. And so when the project started, I was basically doing by myself. I didn't have anybody. I didn't want anybody to be involved so that they would say, "Oh, is this person that helped him? Oh, is that person that recorded for him? Oh, is this person that wrote the song for him?" So I sat down. I said, "Dude, this is me. I grew up listening to R&B music, and this is just how I was formed as a person. So this is exactly what I'm actually going to put out." And people in my team were like, Oga, what is this thing that you're doing? Do you want to end your career? Because you just have to let people listen to, give people what, you've been giving them all the while, others they will lose you. And I said to them, look, I sat back and I thought like, look, when I started this game, my first album had R&B songs. My second album had R&B songs. So some of my fans would just didn't know that this guy also, so I wasn't really, like worried much because I know that most of my fans know what I do because I do between R&B, high life, and gospel. So I wasn't going to be much of a challenge going that route. But the what's it called now? The marketers just like switched off.
Wow.
And then that was when we were at the mercy of Alaba. Everybody was going there to go and sell off their life.
Wow.
Instead of to sell their, life earnings and their inheritance to Alaba. So I didn't have a choice because as much as I preached against it, I found that was where everybody was going. And if you don't join the bandwagon, just like now that we have AI, we are doing music, AI music. So I felt like, look, man, I need to go to Alaba and get this sorted. And I invited a couple of them to my office, and the first one that I spoke with was like it wasn't really happy with the song that I put out. He went back and spread the news that don't go near that guy, don't go near Paul because so he didn't like it and he went back um to Alaba to spread the news that they should not come near me because what I had with him is rubbish, and so didn't get that kind of, nobody was coming to me and nobody was coming to say, because I put the word out that I have a new album and no marketer was calling me. And I was like, this is really strange. Then all of a sudden I got a call and I will tell you for a fact, I started praying and I went into 3 days fasting because these guys said that music was a joke. I said, Paul Play's new album is a joke, making my no go near the album.
Wow.
So, and I said to myself, look, and because I needed to prove that point that, I'm not just about Ike music. And myself, I don't want to step into his shoes. I want to step into my own shoes. And I went into fasting and prayer. You not believe it for 3 days. And what I said to God was, God, this thing that they call a joke, I want you to make it a new revolution in the music industry and in the music game. And one thing about me is that people don't even know that even when I recorded Moshiriri, I fasted for 3 days. So I'm pretty much a very spiritual person, and God has always shown up for me. So I wasn't afraid, even when people around me were saying, why don't you just record someone, just add one high life song? I said, no, just do this. I said, no, this album is going to be strictly rap, R&B, English, no pidgin stuff. Everything's going to be English. So I just got a call after like 6 months. I got a call from Tijo, and Tijo is one of Nigeria's biggest marketers back then. So he gave me a call and said, "I heard you want one funny album that you have." I said, "Yeah, well." I said he would like to come and listen to the album because he has a feeling that it's you now. Says see what I know you can do stuff. So he came to the studio, listen, because the music was like strange to everybody. So he was just listening and listening and listening. Then I was looking at him like he wasn't gonna buy the album. He wasn't gonna distribute the album. So my mind was like, leave this to me. At the end of the day, I made up my mind I was going to release it myself. I don't care. So then after the whole session, listened to all the tracks, and as it was just about to leave, he said to me, I like that first one. I said, which one? He said, that one, that's Angel. That one that has Angel. I like that song. That song is just ringing in my head. I said, okay, let it be ringing in your head.
Yeah.
It's fine. So he said he's going to call me back. He will give me a ring back, where he will just go and consult his people and see whether they were going to, distribute the song, the album. So next day he called me back. They wanted the album. So
wow.
I was like, okay, good. So let's go. And he was like, okay, let me just do it. So he took over the album, and the first 2 weeks he called me. He said, you know what's going on? I don't understand though. Because they said first week that people were coming, say, which one with this one way properly they do so? Which kind of music is this? Then a week later, they go, please give me that play song. He started selling, like, he was just calling that, like, he doesn't understand what's going on. So that was like a big I was actually, let's say it was a way of actually telling my critics that, look, it's just not about Akidaro. You know what I mean? It's not just about Akidaro. There is somebody that came through him, and in his offspring that's doing something that he can handle and can run by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing, to imagine that people heard songs like Forever, Angel of My Life, and passed on it. Because that album, I think, also signifies another shift. There was the first, I'll call it a sonic shift, where the music production changed to my mind anyway. And there was that earlier one with the Plantation Boys, Tony Tetsuela. And then there was this one, because I feel like if you hear a production like Forever, that's a song that can be released right now and it still sounds modern. It's quite incredible. So I mean, on the line I have Onyeche, who is our editorial intern, and I think she has a couple of questions for you as well.
All right.
I'll let her ask some questions.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So some of the questions I wanted to ask, with everything that has been going on currently with this states of Nigerian music, do you have any fresh or creative ideas that you're exploring in your own music right now?
Right now, I think music is my life, and I keep evolving. Technically, I keep evolving production-wise, and the change in sound and the change in sound design, and understanding that things are getting more progressive in the music game, but people don't really understand they don't understand where I stand. Like, they don't know where to actually put what category, what they can actually frame me to be in, which is why some people don't understand my true the kind of culture I'm trying to push across. Afrobeats is one of the games that I was part of, like pioneering Afrobeat game. It has evolved from when we started. There's a new Afrobeat sound, and people are recording and people are working and sounding pretty much the same. Like, people are sounding the same, and so there's really not much you can do because the sound is evolving until somebody comes again to change the whole change the whole game again. I don't really have much to say about what's going on now because I'm so much in connection with the new musicians. Some of them, people like Olamide, people like Cheesy, people like Timaya, just some of them, and we share experiences, and we share views about what's going on in the industry, how difficult it is now um because there's so much saturation in the system. The music is just like everybody's coming out with a new song, and you just have to push. Once you release the music, you those days, like if I want to compare with those days you release the music and just go to bed and sleep. But now you have to be the one to release the music. You go on social media and start begging people to buy the album.
Yeah.
You go on, you do different kinds of video, do skits, give money to influencers, go on YouTube, do ad. It's like, come on, man. It's like, why do I need a record label? So it's kind of saturated, and you can't really even say that there's much of talent out there anymore. Like, anything will just work because people have gone into different there are different ways that people accept or receive or perceive music these days. You can't really say that this song is gonna be a hit or it's not. So basically I don't have much to
Yeah.
to
I just want to add before you continue on your chair that the new song you have, Love in Tokyo with Olamide, is so amazing. But what's surprising about it is the way you're able to maintain this really high production quality, from the song to the music video. Did you produce that song yourself? And
No,
how are you
I
able
didn't
to maintain that
I didn't
quality?
produce that in Tokyo because I
Okay.
allowed Alamide to take that part.
Okay.
Because one thing about me is that I'm always like, when I'm working with young people, I always like to sit back. I don't want to like put because when he was saying, what kind of song? I was like, no, 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 just do it. Just go ahead and let's see, because I want to see, learn from young musicians and people who are doing it right now. I don't want to be like too I don't want to be in front of everything. Just allow them to. So it was produced by Shenzi and this other guy, like three different guys actually work on that track. So it was like, and he would always look at me and say, "Why do you like it?" I'm like, yes, I do. Because of that respect, and for okay, if I have any issues with it, but is their yeah, it's a sound now, so why not? So, and the writing was, I wrote part of it. Olamide wrote part of it. Most of the songs that I wrote, my part and everything. So it was basically like Olamide was on top of the whole thing. Yeah.
So, in regards to what you said earlier with your music, like trying to categorize your sound, is it fair to say that the style of music you make, is it fair to say that it's Nigerian R&B? I don't, because I don't want to say it's not, but like I feel like with all the influences you've had, I don't know if that's also the right thing to say or the wrong thing. So, how would you categorize?
I've never been able to categorize my music. I always see it as R&B. R&B is R&B. And if you listen to any of my song and you find Yoruba or one local dialect, then it's already turned to Afro R&B or something. But I don't want to be caught in a box like this is what he does. Like I actually wanted to, like one of my main mentors was Michael Jackson, because you can actually not put Michael Jackson in the box. Michael Jackson was doing R&B, he was doing pop, he was doing rock, he was doing crossover, he was doing so because of the background I have as a producer and being able to listen, being so so lucky to have listened to a lot of genres while growing up, it was very easy for me to just say like, go through the metamorphosis of production by getting to different genres and expressing myself the way I want.
So then when it comes to your music, um what would you say influences the music you make?
Um, what or who? What influences me?
What oh anyone.
I basically I get influenced by a lot of musicians, old and new. basically from the past. People like Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, The Supremes, Lakeside. You should listen to so much of soul music. That was where I actually drew my inspirations from. I listened as far as Nirvana, Bon Jovi, AC/DC, Spandau Ballet, Duran Duran. You will not know any of these people.
I,
But
I
these are like the greats of the great musicians back then. UB40, Culture Club. See, this way. So my inspiration was drawn from most of these people. And let me just break it down into molecules. Just any song that inspires me, any song that is good as a big song, or I don't go I don't go with the no with the oh, this song is good, that's why I like it. No, I'm a different kind of person. I don't follow the norm. I just if I'm inspired by anything, I go with it. And yeah, so my inspiration from any good song out back then, and these ones that are coming out now, these young acts. I like Omali. I like BXN. Is it BXNX or whatever
Oh,
his name?
Benson. Oh yeah, Ben.
So I like guys like that. I like, Olamide is one of my, I've actually been following for years. And everybody that's doing something, if you have a big song out there, if I'm able to, if it jumps at me, then fine. But if it doesn't, so I get inspired by a lot of people who are putting so much into their creativity and, pushing it across in such a way that it begins to make sense to me. And so, what about talking about what actually inspires me? God inspires me. Everyday experience and people's experiences in life and a health story. It starts to relevant. When I was growing up, most of my songs were about because maybe a lot of people around me were breaking up, so it was about heartbreak songs. So it was about heartbreak songs too. A friend of mine said, what's going on with you? Who's breaking your heart? Every time that they're breaking your heart. So I get inspired by people around me and their own life experiences.
okay. Is there anything that between all the people you've worked with over the years and all the mentors you've had, is there any piece of advice that they've given you that has stuck with you through all this time?
I think Kingston did give me an idea, and I'm still trying to give me one advice that really got me wondering, and because I didn't take that advice for a long time, it affected me. And it was that he said to me that I should get a white manager.
Wow.
What?
I sort of understand it, I sort
I'm
of
telling you.
understand
So
it, yeah.
I think if I had the opportunity to get a white manager at one point, and I missed out on that, and I'm saying it before you guys did that, I'm regretting not going that route.
Interesting.
Because I felt that maybe that wasn't the best for me. And so now, why I didn't know why he said that, but now I know. Because music game internationally revolves around.
Yeah. I was going to, if I
a
can
white
ask,
manager,
yeah.
a white manager will get you to your goal like at the speed of light compared to somebody who's not white. Maybe that's where it was coming from. But I after some things that in my whole journey in the music game, I came to understand that look, you might be right.
Yeah, wow. I think it speaks to, Onyeche, before you continue, just like a lack of structure, and I'm curious what you think about this, a lack of structure in Nigeria's music industry.
Yeah, exactly.
Even from your time or, which is ongoing, but from when you started till now, we still haven't been able to build a music industry structure that works.
Exactly.
While they work.
That was what he was trying to say.
Wow,
Exactly,
yeah.
that was what he was trying to say, because we were just doing everything. You don't have a real manager, you don't have a real entertainment lawyer, you don't have, everybody just trying to be what they're not in the game. So, and we were coming up around the time that, all this, although we have some young guys that are coming up, as real managers, they went to school abroad, studied in music management, study music production and stuff, and they're now coming back to Nigeria to, try to, even till now, I don't know, because I've not been in Nigeria in 3 years, so I don't know what's going on today, but I just know that around that time, it was a mess. It was a complete mess because there was no direction, there was no structure, everybody was just like, we're just like people in the jungle making noise, basically.
Wow.
What? That I can't even imagine working in that. At least trying to be creative, not even working, but being creative in that kind of environment, it would have been very difficult.
Yeah, no, around that time.
Yes.
No, it wasn't.
Or was it manageable, or is it? I don't know.
It wasn't. See, the creative aspect of the game was not difficult because you create every day, you stop every day. But now you've worked so hard, but you can't. It cannot be. You can't make any money. It's not transformed to any sort of revenue. It's just like doing it, and because you love what you're doing, and not much money is coming in. Event managers are cutting corners. Record labels are cutting corners. Then you get into a lot of trouble. You can't have a good manager who understands what you're doing. At the end of the day, you fall out with a lot of clients because your manager is not professional enough. But the creative aspect of the game was top notch. But the production aspect and sound engineering was really not good. We were not touring in the 2000s because touring is a culture, and that's why, because we both agreed that there was no culture. If the culture was, the structure was, sorry, there was no structure. If the structure was there, touring would have been one of those things that would have been put in place, because touring is about you being on a tour bus and going from state to state, and so touring is part of the culture of the music business, and because that was missing, most of my own generation didn't really benefit from that. But touring is like, okay, you release a new album, it's big out there. You go from Lagos you go to Abuja, from Abuja you go to Port Harcourt, from Port Harcourt you go to Kano. I really don't see that as touring. I just see that as you performing to places, because touring is you going to at least most parts of the country to spread your music and let people know. So basically, in America, for instance, touring involves you, after releasing a new song, you just go about, telling people that you have a new song out there. So it's part of the process, and that way you get. We didn't have the likes of Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon, so you really have to go touring. And so now the touring has been turned around in such a way that people like Burna Boy, they're touring, and Wizkid, Davido, but the touring is more or less like you're flying.
Yes.
Not like you're going from city to city. So it's because of what this the genre has done for us. That's why we have. So I won't really call it touring anyway. I won't call it touring. I just call it like you're popular and you're flying around. But touring is basically moving from town to town to, So at the same time too, when someone like Burna Boy has a show in America, he does touring because he goes from city to city, which is well, in Nigeria. I think the one person that I can confirm that did touring in the past was Chris Okotie. So I think that was one person that I can was Okotie. Yeah, he did some touring back then, and
that's interesting.
During that era, my father's era, my Skim Sonny, they were going from city to city. Not that they were basically touring, like it was part of the, the plan by the record labels.
That's interesting. And I think when we were speaking to Bongos some months ago, he said something similar, that he actually bought a tour bus at that time that he called the Groovy Train. And they would start from Maiduguri and they would, but he was, I think he was saying it's unfortunate that they haven't developed the touring
Culture.
infrastructure from that time.
Yeah.
But and he would do something that he called Sunday jumps in different, it were open air concerts, but they were organized from town to town and all of that. We still don't. Yeah, it's I was hoping that I would hear that something like that still existed in the 2000s, but it's like it's been down for a while.
What
Um,
happened in 2000s was just the touring was done by what we can call touring was actually organized by the corporate organizations.
okay.
Like when we were doing campus store and the rest
Mm,
of them. That was only, it wasn't like an artist sitting down to say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna tour.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And also things you performed at like Lekki Sunsplash, the Benson and Hedges. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Was the Benson and Hedges event, was that a tour that they put together? Or it was
It
a
wasn't a tour,
one-time
it's just
event?
a
Okay.
one-time event, and it's just more like a festival. It happens
Okay.
like every week, and I don't know, ever since it's probably the cigarette thing, we lost money.
All right.
Everybody wanted to cry when they canceled National Ages
Oh wow.
concert. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. I don't have any more questions in particular. Just, I guess one more question, around like legacy. What does that mean to you now at this stage of your life and career? And um, is that something you care about? And looking back, is there any one of your songs that feels most personal to you? If you were to pick one song to, kind of be your calling card, as Paul played, what would it be? And what would you like your legacy to be, if you even consider that at all?
Yeah, I think this question is kind of hard to answer.
Okay.
Um, so like, yeah, I think I've not actually shaped out what my legacy should be because I feel that there's still a lot to be done. From the little I've done, I just feel there's still more to achieve, not for myself, but for other people as well, to help other
Mm,
people.
mm,
And I started a record label and I didn't like the way it went because I lost money doing that. And because I went with my heart instead of going with my business,
mm,
acumen. So yeah, the legacy I would want to leave behind is to train and mentor. I tried that while I was in Nigeria, went to different banks, different organizations.
mm,
It's like they were just trying to tell me that I should do with my money. So when I get to that point, I will move in that direction to leave something for the young and upcoming musicians, something that they can learn, or maybe write a book, or do something that creates maybe like
mm,
like a mentoring asset, like a video or something that they can pick up anytime that is
mm.
free, so that they can learn from experiences that I've gathered over the years, and that would be my legacy.
Wow.
Because the legacy basically is
Yeah,
like, okay, what have you left? What do you have left for people? So it's
yeah.
not legacy that my children should go and start, because I have my kids, like they're musically inclined, but I'm not like.
Is any of them, are we going to have a third generation um
Well,
Dairo? That's not.
one of them plays. She even told me that I should buy a new keyboard. I'm like, no way, no. Yeah, because I don't know. She plays the guitar, she plays the
Hmm.
keyboard. I just wanted her to concentrate on one,
Oh, I
and I
see.
don't be like a jack of all trades, get one perfectly right before you
Uh,
go to the other one. But she has a keyboard as well, but she was just like, I want a new keyboard. I'm
okay.
like, hey, hold on, sister. I do this first. So they just do it for fun. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna get serious about it, and I'm not really, because from my experience in the game, it takes a tough person, and I don't think, maybe I'm just underestimating my kids, but I don't think they're ready for that drama, So, but I will see everything as it comes. I just like, it can happen, but in school, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I allow them to do whatever they want. Yeah.
Amazing. Did you ever have any conversations with your father about entering music? Do you know if he was for it or against it or had any kind of opinion?
My father was indifferent
Mm,
because he found out from his manager
mm.
that, he found out from his manager, who was a white guy,
Oh.
because I went to him and I said to him that I write songs. And she's like, "Oh, write songs." So let me listen to the song. Then he took the song and took it to America, and he played for some people. And, well, he took it to Nashville and they played it for them. Like, so
Ah.
that was how my father got to find out. And when he came back from America, he was like, "Hey, I heard your song. So what is going on?" I'm like, "No, I'm just like, okay, yeah, it sounds very good, but this is on your music that you're playing. It's okay." So that was the most I got, but it wasn't that it was like the most to it.
Okay.
It's just like he noticed that I was doing music, and me and my brother and my cousin were into music, so it just wasn't different.